Okay. So, a little while ago, Dawn made a social media post. And yes, for all of y'all wondering, oh my gosh, she owns a hairbrush and a little bit of makeup. I do. I do. I'm still a big, burly, ugly woman, so just hang with me and listen to me as opposed to look at me. Much better advice. Dawn made a Facebook post, or social media post not too long ago, and I read it, and I think I need to respond. Just on the off chance that he might listen to somebody. Maybe he'll listen to an ex-parole officer who has witnessed the miracle transformation of many people that had criminal backgrounds. And maybe he'll listen to why he's having issues building those community bonds that he's having. So hang on, people, because here we go. Get ready. Okay. I'm going to start by reading. Excuse me, that just looks so rude to me. I'm sorry. I'm going to start by reading what Dawn placed on social media. It said, everyone, and it's cropped because somebody cropped it and put it on here. It said, prove to me that there's no good in me. What do you get out of that? I was so confident. I used to unload semi-trucks, and Dad would let me drive them when 5 years old. Couldn't shift, but he'd set the throttle and jump back in the sleeper. Since my parents divorced, it seems most everyone tries to convince me I'm no good. Why? I went through hell, had no guidance, just many people saying I'm no good. You start believing it. Summer changed all that. She loved me unconditionally, and now she's gone. My boys are awesome too. I was building a life and people, and then it cuts off. So I'm just going to address this part. And first I'm going to take it kind of line by line, and then if I have anything else, I'm going to add in. But I'm going to kind of go back into parole officer mode, but I want Don to know, if he's watching this, that I genuinely care. I genuinely care. And that you have thousands of Tennesseans right now that would put themselves in harm's way to rescue that little girl if they saw her out in public right now. And you know something? Not a lot of people can say that. Not a lot of kids have that. Not a lot of communities across this nation would do that. And I think you're overlooking a lot of stuff you had to be thankful for. But I also think you're looking at this from the perspective of an ex-con and not from a newfound community member who's been trying to place his life back together. And so that's where I'm going to come from, and that's why I want to show you your mode of thinking and why it is continuing to put you into an ex-con position in your community. And maybe then you'll be able to give a different behavior so that you get a different response. Because I'm just going to tell you, in life, you get what you give. And when people don't always, like when 90% of people do not respond to you favorably, it's not all because they just want to have a beef. It's because you're emitting something that is not being picked up good. Because you know something, 90% of communication, like 75 to 90% of communication is non-verbal. And that's a big place where, you know, ex-felons have a difficult time changing their behaviors, their presentation of self. Because they've been placed in a mindset of a predator, of I have to defend myself, of I have to be bigger, better, and meaner than anybody. You've got to be the banty rooster in the barn lot. And when you walk into a community with that arrogance and that ego, people know you're self-serving. And they don't want nothing to do with that because that's toxic. So let's just take this line by line. I want you to listen to me because, like today, one of my ex-parolees wrecked and was life flighted out. And I knew within 5 minutes that he had wrecked. You want to know why? The family called to tell me and asked me to pray for their boy. I revoked him and put him back in prison after I begged him routinely and tried to help him structure his life, and he failed to. I revoked him and put him back in prison. Yet his family knows that I care enough that when he's been wounded in a wreck and had to be life flighted out, they could call me, and I would calm them down, and I would talk them through it, and I would send some good vibes, some healing vibes, and some prayers up. I ain't had a badge in almost 6 years. But I had that bond with the people and the families that I supervised. So I'm not just saying this. And I supervised some handy dandy felons, let me tell you, not all of them were, whoo, I had some doozies. But I do care. So let's look at your statement. Prove to me there's no good in me. Nobody has to prove anything to you. You're only responsible for your behavior and your actions. And you're not responsible for how other people view you. You got to stop doing that. You are stuck viewing yourself as a felon And therefore you think everybody else does as well. When you stop treating yourself as a villain, when you stop living, even slightly in that world, when you stop dabbling, you'll stop thinking like that. And you'll switch over and you'll start to understand and you'll start to adapt and see how regular members of society aren't stuck in that mode. That they can walk by somebody who's cussing them out saying, you're a piece of garbage, you're a piece of trash, and they go, huh, okay, have a good day. I'm going on about my merry business. Because they know inwardly they're not. Because they're self-assured about their motives and their behavior and their intentions. So that tells me you're still unsure about something that you're not facing and you're not handling. Something's still in there that's toxic within you that you're not processing, and so it keeps you questioning your self-worth, so you make sure you think everybody else questions it too. The only person that it matters, if they believe in you or not, is you. That's it. And when you win yourself over, multitudes will follow, let me tell you. But when you do something stupid and you get a charge and your community looks at you and they have written evidence that you don't follow the rules and you're a little dangerous, it's going to take about 5 times as long to correct that image as it would to be just to create it. So first sentence, that was a big chunk. So let me compose myself and then we'll continue. Alright, and we're going on. What do you get out of that? They're not getting anything out of it. Like I said, you're completely feeding yourself emotionally, and you're doing it in a toxic manner. And you're doing it because it's what you're used to doing, because you're used to making everybody else out as the criminal, the villain, the toxic person that you need to bulk up for and watch out for and be meaner than, because you know what's really out there in society. But you're not dealing with that lifestyle anymore, for the most part. But what little bit you are, still keeping you in that mindset, you've got to shake it. They're not gaining anything from it emotionally. All they're doing is looking at black and white facts and going, you know, you're in my community. We've not run you out with pitchforks and fire. We're genuinely worried about your daughter. We're throwing all our community resources at it, and we're all having vigils and praying and across the nation. So they're offering so much more of themselves than you think is being withheld. You just can't see that because you're in such an emotional state. And what you're doing is you're feeding yourself, and you're turning everybody else into the villain because you don't want to be the villain. Because to understand that in this scenario you are slightly the villain, you would have to then own the consequences of all your behavior. And you're just not ready to do that, I don't believe. If you were, we wouldn't be having this discussion via YouTube. Yeah, we wouldn't. If you were willing to sit down with yourself and you go, you know something, I've given people factual, evidentiary, positive proof that says, question my motives. I understand why they might withhold trust. You're going to have to work harder to get your trust. Now, I understand that. And as someone that is coming out and trying to resolve the damage that I've caused in communities across this nation, I'm willing to work harder and do more and understand that it's going to take more. But you're not. You're actually expecting way more of other people than they're anticipating in expectance of you. So, is that fair? Do they have criminal histories? Are you scared of them because they've done horrible things to other people and you are concerned now because you have black and white evidence they've done horrible things? No. So, why are you mad at these people? Because from what I see, you're getting 80% love and 20% we're going to reserve judgment, or it's a possibility, but we don't want to think about it because that hurts us to think about that little precious child. But we do have a valid concern, but we're willing to set it aside and do what we can. And then they turn on the news or they go to social media and they see this man going, by God, you can take your kindness, you can shove it up your wazoo. I mean, and then you get out the WD-40 and Vaseline and attempt to help. So nobody wants that. Nobody wants that. So you're going to have to put your eyebrows down, and you're going to have to calmly deal with the community because you have placed yourself in this position, and they have factual evidence to know that they need to question your motives because you do have a history, and it's your responsibility to overcome that history, not theirs. And that's going to take work, hard work, good behavior, and being assertively conscious when you deal with people. So you don't just promote anger and get volatile and have expectations just when you meet people. You build a trust and you realize you have to earn that trust. Because you're the person that has the background. And that's just how it is. If I said hi to you and you didn't know me from Adam, you'd be like, oh, hi. I don't know you. It's a blank slate. Hi. Hi. But if I walked up to you and you knew that I'd murdered somebody 5 years ago and I had done 5 years in the pen and just released on probation for the next 10 because they had downgraded it to reckless homicide, I got lucky, you'd go, excuse me, because you don't know if you want to engage with me or not. Because all you know of the last 5 years is I've been incarcerated in a place that you don't know about, you don't frequent, a level of society you aren't engaged in and you don't understand, and you don't really want to tangle with. You got a billy goat that butt you, you don't necessarily want to cross the fence. You're the billy goat that butts. And nobody's going to put you in a petting zoo with the snap of a finger. You're going to have to work it. And somebody's going to have to strap some poodle noodles to your horns or something because you've done some damage. So you need to be bubble wrapped. I mean, it's just all there is to it. But until you understand that you're doing the damage, it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. I was so confident. Well, that's good. Was, past tense. What happened? Your behavior. Your behavior. I guarantee you that your confidence fell after you got charges and had to learn that consequences have repercussions and ramifications that take a long time to mend. They do. Sucks, don't it? This is the real world. The real world is not an institutionalized mind frame that puts its comb and its toothpaste and its toilet paper and lives in a 5x5 square and can't walk in a space with anybody else like puffing his chest up and strutting like an ape. That's not the real world. The real world is the 80% of the population that tries to cohabitate with each other and do it in a way that it says, I respect you, but respect my boundaries. Instead of, yeah, I'm here, what you gonna do about it? You need to respect me, get out of my way, you're a bitch. Because that's how you're coming off right now. Is that you demand this, it should have been given, and you're pissed because it wasn't. And if you were sitting across the desk from me, I'd say, here's a quarter, call somebody who cares. Because nobody in your community cares how you feel. They want to see you overcome this emotional hurdle you have, because right now all you're trying to do is take emotional hostages with these sad stories and these contrived notions about how great you were as a child. Well, guess what? Almost every 3 to 5 year old is an angelic creature with a little bit of an asshole disposition, because that's just a toddler face. But after 5, we start to learn our place in the world, and we start to be socially responsible for our behavior. So you know something? I'll give you till about 5 years old. And then you got to learn how to fit in, bud. You got to learn how to get in there with the team, hitch yourself to 5 other people, and work as a team member. You're the 6th horse, and guess what? You're not the lead one anymore. You're in the butt. And you're going to have to learn to move yourself up through correcting your behavior and building that trust in your community. And it sucks. It's hard. I understand. But if you truly want to be the person that you are aspiring to be in your written word, then your behavior will line up with it. And I don't see it right now. I don't see it. I see a lot of words, see a lot of preaching. I don't see a lot of praying and behavior. We ain't calling down the lightning. We're just trying to strike a big ladder. Okay. I used to unload semi-trucks, and Dad would let me drive it when I was 6 years old. What in the holy hay higher delegations that got to do with anything? I can drive a stick too. I can pull a gooseneck or a bumper hitch. I was pulling 40-foot rigs when I was 16. I could have been just as much of a jackbutt then, and nobody know it. Don't mean crap. Your capabilities and things that you can accomplish, anybody can set their mind to it and do and complete a task. How's your behavior when you are just intermingling with the other human beings on the planet? How is it? Oh, well, I'm a good person. I can find second. I know exactly where my clutch gives. I don't kill my motor at all, and I don't roll down a hill a quarter inch. So I'm a good person. Do you see how stupid that sounds now? Do you see how stupid that sounds now? Okay. Couldn't shift. Well, I could shift, so. I mean, if I took a lesson from you, Nene, I'm better than you. I could shift when I was a little girl. You see how stupid that sounds now? That's stupid. That has nothing to do with the quality of human being you are. That is a menial task that you could train a dog to do. Being a good person is not this. Since my parents' divorce, it seems most everyone tries to convince me I'm no good. I would be interested to know when your parents divorced, but I can almost tell you that that's a key component of your behavior right there. That time when that happened, something in your family and shifted that dinged your little mentality and your little heart so bad that you shut a lot of emotions down and stopped handling stuff that should have been handled. And maybe it was because you weren't around the matriarchs that tend more to the emotional behavior. Maybe it was that somebody was mad at the family buildup or, the family composition, and so they withdrew affection. And that sucks. That's bad. But you know something? 67% of the population comes from broken homes. So shouldn't 67% of the population be incarcerated, be a butthole, but actually be a good person because they can shift? You see your logic is it evaporates when you try to actually apply it to other people. That's because you were giving yourself a different set of expectations and standards than you're applying to everyone else. And you're making other people toe the line. But my God, don't you strap any weight to me. It doesn't work like that. You've got to try. You've got to give a lot more and a lot longer to correct the damage you did. And there's no nice way to put it. But when you damage a bond with a person or a community, it takes time to repair. Because as hurt as you were at this age, your community, your neighbors, your society that you were embedded within was hurt when you chose to have felonious behavior. You just can't understand how you hurt them, and you don't want to take any responsibility for that. But you did. You say, wow, I went through hell. I'm sorry. That sucks. It's bad for children. Again, has nothing to do with who you are as an adult and being responsible for your behavior and putting good actions, good mojo out into the community. Had no guidance. Well, ding, ding, ding. I don't think anybody's contest that one. No, we all know you had no guidance. It shows. It shows in what you've said, how you've related your past. And again, it sucks. But when you become mature enough to understand your place in society, you also become mature enough to understand, whether you've been taught or not, you understand right and wrong. Because not only is it taught in homes, but it's also taught everywhere you are as a human being. The golden rule, just behavior, kids playing basketball, kids sharing toys, driving an automobile. You have to have common courtesy for human beings. So this is not something that you just could only learn at home, and therefore since you didn't have a good home, you didn't have guidance, you have none of it. It's malarkey. Because you can go into society with no skills from home and turn your butt around, because I've seen hundreds of people do it. And a lot of them have been youth. I used to help youth in state's custody with addiction and trauma issues. So you know something, if a 12-year-old, 13-year-old can do this, and then at the age 36 tag me and say, I'm still kicking, I'm doing great, and then, you know something, somebody in their 50s ought to be able to do this easy. Easy. You should have repaired your damage to your community within a decade. Within a decade. So if you're 10 years out of any supervision or any paper completion or sentence completion and you've not corrected this behavior, it's because you've not tried hard enough. And I wish I could tell you there was a magic wand and I could wave it over your head and I could make you the person you want to be. But the fact is the person you see yourself as and want to be is a complete different makeup than the person you are. But you're not willing to look at the road space between those two exits of where you want to be in life. And until you get really ready to travel those last hard miles, you're not going to get there. Buddy, you're not going to get there. Even though we all know you can do it. Any person with a heartbeat can change their life. Anybody taking in air can change their life. But it takes a whole lot of hard work. And you have to believe in yourself. But if you're defaulting and putting all that onto society and saying, you're dictating who I am because you won't allow me to be anybody else. Seriously. Just so many people saying I'm no good. You start believing it. Trying to take emotional hostages. Feel sorry for me. I've not had the things you've had in life. I've not gotten the things you've gotten, even though I did most of the damage myself. And I knew as an adult the repercussions of my behavior. I'm going to lay this on thick, because right now I need sympathy. I need the sympathy I should have tried to build 10 years ago, but I need it now. I'm sorry, and this is just true. This is just absolute truth that I'm telling you. And if you were sitting across the desk from me, I'd tell you the same thing. This may be the message that changes your life. Quite possibly could be. So if you want to be mad at me, you can hate me all you want to after this, but guarantee you that what I'm telling you is the God's honest truth. Because I've seen hundreds, if not thousands, of people have to go through this process. Buddy, it sucks. It sucks more than a creep feeding calf looking for its mama. But you got to do this. Nobody else can fix this but you. But you want everybody else to just see me in a different way. Boom, magic. Don't work. Don't work. You got to put in the effort. Number one, you can't isolate yourself and still deal with the underbelly of society and deal with a criminal component and then look at people and go, oh, but I washed my hands of that life. Yeah, and I haven't had a Snickers bar in 5 years either. Ha! That's about as honest as you are. And, you know, whatever you believe, that's your responsibility. How you feel about yourself and the behaviors and reactions and actions you put out in the world, that's your responsibility. But how other people feel about you, you can't control it. Can't control it. All you can do is work hard to hope to rectify the situation. But you have to understand at the end of the day, you can't change the way people feel, and they have a right to feel the way they feel. I'm a decent, law-abiding, hard-working citizen. I guarantee you I'm a villain in at least a good dozen people's story. Can I change it? No. Do I want to? No. Because the people that think I'm a villain at this point in my life, because I know I get up every day and I'm the best version of me I be, and I'm good to people, and I have gratitude and a genuine concern for my community. I know, I have no question in my heart that I don't do everything I know I can possibly do to help people. I'm not even in the field anymore, and if somebody calls me and says, I want to go to treatment, but I don't have any insurance, can you help me? I'm going to start withdrawing it in 30 hours. Can you help me? I find grant beds and scholarship beds. I say, absolutely, yes. Let's start calling right now. We can do this. And I will spend hours with that person. And so when I get up the next day and somebody says, you ain't worth shit, okay. I know that's flawed logic, but I can't convince them of that. And as hard as I work, I know that the few people that have that view of me, it's an irrational, illogical view, and I don't want to participate in their life anyway. So when you start really correcting your behavior in your community, you're going to start seeing more people come to your side of the fence and want to be in the pasture with you, because you're not going to be the button billy goat anymore. You're going to be the nice one. And eventually you're only going to have a few people in the community that just can't quite get their brain over that border. And you know something? You're going to have to go, I can't worry about yins anymore because I've overcome so much and I know I'm trying and I have this much, and this is what I'm going to work with, and this is what I'm grateful for. That's it. That's it. Summer changed all that. Your children should never have to fix you. It's not their job. And as a mother of 2 grown adults, and as someone who has worked with children that have come from trauma, can you imagine the stress you place on a child when you ask them to correct me as a human being, emotionally and mentally and physically? She is not Sally, Jesse, Raphael, or Maury Povich. She is a young child who should see this world as an open invitation to exploration, love, and growth. And hang on a minute, my daddy is emotionally scarred, and I need to pat him on the head for 5 extra seconds and make sure I hold his finger for 2 hours that he's home, and make sure to pat his head and tell him I love him, because I don't think anyone else does. And so I know I feel that void, so I need to give all my time. Oh my goodness. And kids pick up on this. Kids know this. I've had kids as young as 7 and 8 in therapy that knew this. It's not your child's It's not your child's job to make you feel better about who you are. Because whoever you are and whatever you've done, when you walk through that door, you should be dad. And they should know the best side of you possible. And they should be able to identify the try you have within your heart and your soul. And they should be able to say, I know my daddy might have made some bad decisions, but I see a good man. I see a good man. I've met kids that just could identify their daddy made bad decisions. Because daddy didn't care what he presented at home. Have you always cared what you present at home? Have you always given them 110%? Have you always made sure that when you walk through the door, you are nothing but the best for them? That every behavior and action and word you speak is something that's going to help them, build them up, put them on a better level, make them go farther in life than you? Have you ever prepared them for the world you wanted to live in but just could never get to? Because you can. You can still prepare them to be the person that you think you can never become, apparently. Even though we know you can. Kids don't fix their parents. And that is a burden that will scar a child so deeply. And you should know that from all you just read. So basically what you said is, I went through all this as a kid. My parents sucked. I didn't get what I needed. And I felt a lot of responsibility for the family and the issues. And then I grow up, I make bad decisions, and boom, now I'm a parent and I have kids. They're not in the best family. The family has issues, and they feel responsible, and now we have issues in the family, and boom. Repetitive cycle much? Can you see how you're just keeping this going and going and going? Get off the treadmill, Bubba. You're the one running on it. Nobody else is in the wheel but you. Nobody else is in the wheel but you. And if you put as much energy into trying to change people's mind as you do with trying to take emotional hostages, you wouldn't have to say crap like this, because you would have so many people on your team, because all this energy you've expended on social media in the last few weeks, holy crap, I could have written a thesis for doctorate school, buddy. It just blows my mind. If you just placed your energy and your actions, behavior in the right place, you could change the world. But you think the world is inherently against you because it's easier to see people as villains and narcissistic buttholes so that you can remain one too. I mean, that should hurt. I hope it does. She loved me unconditionally, and now she's gone. Sad to say, you still have other children. So you gotta suck it up here, bud. You gotta suck it up here. Because you still have little lives that depend on you. Even though they're in protective custody right now, you still have little lives that depend on you. And hopefully you'll correct the issues and get them back. And those little lives will be able to depend on you. But if you don't correct what's going on here, then they're going to fall back into your cycle of behavior that you live through. And is that what you want for your children? Because that is what you're setting them up for. That is what you're creating. Do you want to create something different? Okay, let's keep a journal. Let's see how we're thinking, our moods for the day, our behaviors, how we respond to stimuli outside of our home. Let's see where our repetitive bad behaviors are, and let's start to change how we engage in those. Let's identify our trouble spots, and let's start to practice ways to handle those without becoming a bona fide butthole on social media. Because you can. You can do this. I know it seems far-fetched because you think you've placed on this pedestal and it's this person you can't attain. But you can. If you really want to be this person that you have in your mind and that you're wanting everybody to believe you are, you can get there. It takes some work. You can get there. The only person that isn't trying to get there right now is you. We're all sitting back here just going, was he going to climb the hill or not? Is he? Is he? Is he? Is he? Is he? A lot of talk. A lot of talk. You remind me of a Brahma bull that this guy had one time. I wanted to fish a pond, and none of the kids would go fish that pond because that Brahma bull would start throwing dirt, snorting, and slinging its head. I never saw that Brahma bull run at anybody, though. He just put on a show. And so one day I picked up my little Snoopy pole, and by God, I marched my butt to the pond and I fished. You want to know something? He slung dirt and he blowed and huffed and puffed like a big old sow at the trough. He never ran at me, though. He just had people bluffed. He just had people bluffed. Identify the bluff you're running in this society game and why you're not being the person you need to do, why you're bluffing everybody. Have a talk to your ego and see why you're doing that, really why you're doing that. Instead of putting that energy toward being that better person. And then you'll realize and unlock the mechanism that will allow you to climb up the ladder in society. Not lying, you will. My boys are awesome too. That sounded like an afterthought. You know, like when you rip a big fart and then you have a little toot afterwards. Don't make your kids feel like the little toot afterwards. It's rude. Those boys are just as precious, and they deserve just as much as of your heart. And I know that their sister is in a tragic, horrible, heinous situation. But you can't set them up to be less than, because that will scar them too. And then you were building a life, and people, what did it stop? You act like it just stopped. Like, well, since I can't do it, screw y'all, I'm just going to go back to my life crime. I will tell you that it's easier to be a felon than a good standing community member. Because to be a felon, you just have to please yourself. To be a good standing community member, you have to please thousands of people. You have to really care about how you put yourself in the herd, and how you're received, and how you portray yourself. You have to pick your battles and understand that some things are not worth fussing about, because the respect and the bond that you have, that ability to have that rapport with those people, is more important than your ego. We're not there yet, Dawn. We're not there yet. I want to see you do better. I'm struggling. I'm struggling to have faith in you. I'm really struggling. If you watch my videos, I try to be really polite about things. I really do. But I'm struggling, Betty. I'm struggling. I would hope that you have someone in your life that is trying to lead you out of this crime lifestyle. Because I know you're still stuck in it a little bit. And don't lie to me. I see it all over your face, all over your body language, all over your posture. It's there. Your preacher may be a fine man, but he cannot understand what you're fighting. He can't, because he's not seeing that part of society. And you're withholding information for him because you don't want him to see what you're capable of. And until you're honest with people around you, you're not going to be able to be the person that they're going to need and want in their community. So there's a lot to think about. I hope I've helped you. I'm sorry if it hurt. Rip off the Band-Aid, think about it, and you'll probably be thankful. So that's what I would say to Dawn if I had something to be able to say.